David Gant was an ordinary poor man, but this man used to play with notes for 16 hours a day, yet his own pockets always remained empty. In reality, David was the supervisor of an armored car for a security firm called Loomis Fargo. His job was to transfer millions of dollars between banks. All day, he guarded this money, but his own salary was barely $8 per hour. How long could he keep wearing the heavy blanket of honesty while strangling his own dreams? One day, tired of this honest life, David starts thinking of doing something wrong. This is the interesting story of the 1997 Loomis Fargo bank heist, in which an ordinary person forced the FBI to launch an international manhunt. And this same story became the foundation for the 2016 Hollywood film Masterminds. Surprisingly, David Gant even worked in the film made on his own story, and unfortunately, he didn't get any money for this work either. Welcome once again to Global Map Stories Videos. Viewers, David Gant was a retired soldier from the Gulf War. He had protected the country, and now he was a vault supervisor in an armored car company called Loomis Fargo, which means hands full of notes, but pockets empty, and the burden of family responsibilities on his shoulders. He used to work 75 to 80 hours a week, but in return, he was getting only $8.1. David Gant had become fed up with his routine. Loneliness and the sadness of not doing something big were eating him from inside. These were the circumstances that created a strange restlessness in David's heart. And finally, wrong thoughts started coming to him. As soon as the thought of dishonesty came into David's heart, the devil opened a new path for this wrong step in front of him. And the name of this path was Kelly Campbell. Kelly also worked in Loomis Fargo. She was a smart, bold, and mysterious girl. During the job at Loomis Fargo, she somehow became friends with David, and they often used to meet after office timings too. The friendship became so deep that even after Kelly left the job, these two kept meeting. One day, Kelly introduced David to her friend Steve Chambers. Steve was a small-time criminal who always dreamed of earning quick money. When Steve came to know that David was the supervisor of the armored vehicle in Loomis Fargo, a mischievous idea took birth in his mind. The idea of robbing the money. But to make this idea successful, it was necessary that David also join them. And that's when both of them started trying to convince David Gant, whose intention was already bad. Steve Chambers' idea was like giving a push to a falling wall. At first, David got very scared because he had never done anything wrong in his life before. But Steve's style forced him to slip. He showed David dreams of living a happy and luxurious life. David's frustration in life, Kelly's support, and Steve's greed. All these things together brought David to such a point where returning back became very difficult. Then the planning of this master plan begins. Now, because Steve himself was a small-time criminal, and neither did Kelly have any experience and what to say about David. Therefore, their plan was something that would make any professional thief laugh. The plan was quite simple. On the night of October 4th, 1997, after duty, David will stay in the vault. He will turn off the security cameras. He will also steal its cassette, and after that he will fill money in the company's van and run away from there. The plan was that after the theft, David would immediately take $50,000 and run to Mexico. This amount was chosen because at that time, only this much money was allowed to be taken across the American border. Whatever cash remained would stay with Steve Chambers, and after the matter cooled down, David would come back, and this money would be equally distributed among everyone. But there was a very big flaw in the plan. David would take such a big risk and run to Mexico with just $50,000. Then why would Steve Chambers share the remaining looted money with David later? But the blindfold of greed had blinded David. He never even thought about this. And then finally that night arrived. On October 4th, 1997, at 6 p.m., David sent his trainee staff home. Now he was alone, who had the responsibility of the vault. David went inside the vault, and according to the plan, he disabled 2 security cameras. He also took out the cassette that had all the recordings. But by mistake, he forgot to turn off the 3rd camera that was hidden in one corner of the vault. This 3rd camera kept recording all the scenes of the Loomis Fargo robbery from that moment until the next few hours. Completely unaware of this, David started taking cash out of the vault. But there was another problem. This time he was not taking cash to count and transport it, but he had to empty the entire vault at once and completely alone. Most of these were $20 notes. According to an estimate, there were more than 800,000 notes, or more than 8,000 bundles. To fill so many bundles into the van required a lot of time too. For the next 2 hours, he kept filling cash into the van. After loading approximately $17.3 million in cash, at that time, he didn't even know that he had committed the second biggest robbery in American history. After the cash was fully loaded in the van, David jumped up in happiness, and his dance was also recorded by the third camera. The next morning, when the other employees of Loomis Fargo came and tried to open the vault keys were missing. Police was called. At that time, because only David Gant was not present in the office, he became the prime suspect from the very beginning. When the security camera footage was seen, all doubt turned into certainty, and finally David's dance added to rub salt into the wound. In the security footage, it was seen that David was repeatedly messaging someone on his pager during the theft. This proved that he was surely not alone in this act. Now the police started searching for David Gant and his accomplices. After searching the whole city for the next 2 days, FBI agents found the cash van parked in the woods. Inside the van, about $3 million in cash was lying around, which was probably left behind because of being too heavy and shortage of time. Both CCTV camera cassettes were also found in the van, meaning now David and his accomplices had about $14 million in cash. Most of it was in $20 notes which were not marked, meaning if anyone spent them, they could not be tracked. As per the plan, David had already run to Mexico with $50,000. He reached a luxury beach resort there and started living there. The police and FBI published advertisements in newspapers to search for David and his accomplices, and also promised a reward of $500,000 to anyone giving information related to this robbery. The police appealed to the citizens that if they see anyone around them who has suddenly got a lot of money, report it to us immediately. Because of this campaign, the police started getting a lot of calls all day. The police had to arrange a separate desk for the Loomis Fargo robbery. Most calls were just to try their luck, but among them, there was one call that put wheels under the stalled investigation. One person told the police that his neighbor has suddenly got a lot of money. This was none other than Steve Chambers himself, who was actually the mastermind of this whole plan. The FBI started secretly keeping an eye on him. It was found that Steve could not control himself, and along with his wife Michelle, bought a big and expensive house. He was also spending a lot of money on a new BMW car and other luxury things. When the FBI investigated their bank accounts, it was found that after October 4, they had suddenly deposited a lot of money. Their suspicion became even stronger when a bank teller told them that this amount was brought in the form of $20 notes. Michelle, who came to deposit this money, had also asked the teller how much money can be deposited without you people reporting to the Fed. The FBI's suspicion had now turned into certainty that whether anyone else was involved or not, Steve Chambers and his wife Michelle were definitely among those who helped David. But they stayed silent and wanted to find the other accomplices, especially David. Only about 10 days had passed in the investigation when everything came out openly. To get to the bottom of the story, the FBI started taping Steve Chambers' phone. In one phone conversation, the name David Gant made the FBI's ears stand up. This phone call was between Steve Chambers and a person named Mike McKinney, and both of them were actually conspiring to kill David. In reality, Steve Chambers had gone mad after seeing so much money. Just like there was a flaw in the plan, he wanted to kill David in Mexico itself and take all the money alone. The FBI arrested Mike McKinney, who immediately spilled the whole plan. Mike himself revealed that David is in Mexico, and he also told that after stealing cash from Loomis Fargo, they took the van to the parking lot of Reynolds and Reynolds printing press and shifted the cash to another vehicle there. Surprisingly, Steve himself worked in this printing press. He didn't even think that the van should be taken to some unknown place for cash transfer. And because they had very little time, too much cash, and the plan was completely weak, that's why they left $3 million in the van itself and parked it in the woods. They didn't even bother to leave the van somewhere far away. This forest was right next to Steve's office, and only a few kilometers from Loomis Fargo's warehouse. So in the first 10 days itself, the police and FBI came to know about the entire group, but they waited for the next 5 months. Solid evidence was collected, and then on March 1st, 1998, David Gant was arrested from Mexico. The next day, Steve Chambers, his wife Michelle, and Kelly Campbell were arrested from Charlotte, North Carolina. The FBI recovered 88% of the looted amount, while the remaining money Steve Chambers had blown away in buying luxury items. Steve Chambers got 11 years of sentence, and David Gant got 7 years. David was also held responsible for the remaining $3 million that went missing, which in reality he had not even spent. In 2016, a film named Masterminds was also made on this story. The film's producer kept David Gant as a consultant, but he didn't get any salary, because legally, any amount given to David would be directly used to pay off his debt. At this time, David was doing a construction worker job, and he used to say that even if I work my whole life with my earnings, I cannot pay this debt. Today also, David Gant lives in the city of Jacksonville, Florida, with his wife and children, and earns his living by working as a construction worker. He has also maintained his presence on social media, and he keeps giving people the opportunity to learn lessons from his mistakes. Hopefully you people will like and share this video of Global Map Stories a lot. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video.